On August 15, 2021, the world watched as the Taliban literally sauntered into Kabul, claiming control of the Afghan capital with surprising ease. Exclusive footage from Al Jazeera revealed their entry into the Afghan presidential palace, symbolizing a seismic shift in the country's destiny. As the Afghan flag came down, the Taliban flag rose in its place, marking the beginning of a new era. The next day, a video released by the Taliban featured senior leader Mullah Baradar Akhund promising to improve the lives of the people. Meanwhile, desperate Afghans thronged the Kabul airport trying to flee the country. Desperation grew as people resorted to climbing barbed wire walls to gain entry to the airport. In an iconic moment, a US soldier was handed a small baby over the razor wire at the airport, epitomizing the desperation that had gripped the nation. Mullah Abdul Ghani Baradar, co-founder of the Taliban, returned to Afghanistan after more than a decade, and the crowds cheered his presence in Kandahar. The Taliban faced its first protest as Afghans took to the streets demonstrating against the takeover. Tragically, the protests were met with violence, with Taliban militants opening fire on demonstrators. Amid the chaotic withdrawal of foreign forces, a suicide bomb attack rocked Kabul airport, leaving 85 people dead, including 13 US troops. This attack highlighted the precarious situation on the ground in the nation. The visuals of US soldiers boarding planes to leave Afghanistan for good marked the end of a 20-year conflict. It was the longest war the Americans had fought. And it was a historical moment as Major General Chris Donahue became the last US service member to depart from Kabul airport. The Taliban went on to claim control of Panjshir province, solidifying their grip on the entire country. The National Resistance Front pledged to continue the fight against the Taliban. Students across Afghanistan started returning to university in September for the first time since the Taliban stormed to power. In some cases, female students were separated from their male peers by curtains or with boards placed in the middle of the classroom. Teachers and students at universities in Afghanistan's largest cities like Kabul, Kandahar, and Herat told Reuters that female students were being segregated in class, taught separately, and restricted to certain parts of the campus. The Taliban also announced Afghanistan's new government on September 7, 2021, naming Mullah Hassan Akhund, who was a close associate of the movement's late founder Mullah Omar, as acting prime minister. It was not clear what role Mullah Habibullah Akhundzada, the Taliban supreme leader, would play in the government. He had not been seen or heard of in public since the takeover. Taliban forces in November 2021 held a military parade in Kabul using American-made armored vehicles and Russian helicopters in an apparent bid to show off its growing military might. The abrupt withdrawal of foreign aid following the Taliban victory left Afghanistan's fragile economy on the brink of collapse, with food prices rising rapidly and causing widespread hunger. On December 19, 2021, Taliban delegates attended an Organization of Islamic Cooperation meeting where Islamic countries pledged to set up a humanitarian trust fund for Afghanistan as its economic crisis deepened. In another major setback for women's rights in Afghanistan, the Taliban suspended access to universities for female students in December 2021, drawing strong condemnation internationally, after which they were only allowed to get back in February 2022. In a stark reversal, the Taliban ordered women to cover their faces in public, reigniting concerns about women's rights and freedoms. They reverted to their old habits as restrictions on women continue to escalate. In November, a devastating earthquake struck Afghanistan, testing the Taliban's ability to manage disaster relief without international assistance. The earthquake killed at least 1,000 people. Mounting a rescue operation was a major challenge for Taliban authorities, cut off from international assistance because of sanctions. There were more clampdowns on Afghan women as in November 2022, they were stopped from entering amusement parks in Kabul after the country's morality ministry declared restrictions on women being able to access public parks. As Afghanistan was weighed down by the world's largest humanitarian crisis, the UN expressed deep concerns about the stability of the nation and the rights of Afghan women.
It is difficult to overestimate the gravity of the situation in Afghanistan. It is the largest humanitarian crisis in the world today.
A UN expert warned that the Taliban's treatment of Afghan women could amount to gender apartheid, sparking renewed debates about women's rights in the country.
Which also gives rise to concerns that they may be responsible for gender apartheid.
From the swift fall of Kabul to the resurrection of the Taliban, massive changes are unfolding in the nation. In the face of adversity, we witnessed heart-rending scenes. The desperation at the airport, a small child being passed over the wire, and the US resolutely committed to leaving Afghanistan, putting an end to a 2-decade conflict. The country's landscape has shifted, echoing the return of key figures and the re-establishment of an old authoritarian order. As we reflect on these years, Afghanistan remains at a crossroads, facing challenges both from within and outside its borders.
Subscribe to the Federal's YouTube page for more news and updates.